It's that time of year again when millions of people across the United Kingdom start looking forward to their winter fuel payments, a little extra help to stay warm during the cold months. But this year, a major update from the Department for Work and Pensions, or DWP, has left many pensioners and households anxious. The department has confirmed that 5 specific groups of people will no longer be eligible to receive these payments. And for those affected, there will be no additional cash help under this scheme until 2026 unless new decisions are made. So, if you're wondering whether you'll be one of the 9 million people still due to receive the payment, or if you might fall into one of the 5 excluded categories, stay tuned as we go over everything you need to know, from eligibility changes and reasons behind these decisions to what this means for your finances this winter. The winter fuel payment has long been one of the most relied upon benefits for older citizens across the UK. It's a government-backed scheme designed to help pensioners cope with the rising costs of heating their homes during the winter season. Normally, the payment ranges between £100 and £300, depending on a person's age, living situation, and benefit status. It's automatically paid out to those who qualify, usually between November and December each year. But with energy prices remaining high and inflation still affecting the cost of living, this support is now more crucial than ever. Unfortunately, for some, the latest update from the DWP means they won't be getting this extra help anytime soon. According to the DWP, letters are being sent out between October and November to all eligible pensioners confirming the amount they'll receive and whether they still qualify based on their situation during what's known as the qualifying week. This qualifying week usually falls in mid-September and is used to determine who meets the conditions for the payment. However, this year's round of letters also comes with a warning: not everyone who received the winter fuel payment before will get it again. The department has made it clear that 5 groups of pensioners will be considered ineligible and won't receive another payment until 2026 unless the government decides otherwise. Let's break down these 5 groups and understand what this means. First, if your annual income exceeds £35,000, you will no longer be eligible for the winter fuel payment. The DWP argues that this ensures support goes to those who genuinely need it, rather than those who can afford heating costs without government assistance. While some see this as fair, others argue it penalizes pensioners who have modest private pensions that push their income just above that limit. Nonetheless, this rule is now in place, and anyone above that income threshold should not expect the usual winter payment. The second group includes individuals who received free hospital treatment during the qualifying week from 15 to 21 September 2025, as well as those who were hospitalized during that same week the previous year. The reason for this exclusion is that the government considers hospitalized individuals as not being responsible for heating costs during that time. Essentially, if you were in hospital receiving free treatment during that specific week, you won't be counted as eligible for the payment that year. The third group involves anyone who was in prison during the qualifying week. The DWP's reasoning is similar: individuals in custody have their essential living costs covered by the state during that period, so they are not entitled to additional public funds like the winter fuel payment. While this has been a long-standing rule, the department's latest update reinforces that even a short period of incarceration during that week could make you ineligible for the entire payment cycle. The fourth group applies to people who have permanently resided in a care home for an entire year, specifically from 23 June 2025 or earlier, and who already receive certain benefits. The idea here is that individuals in care homes often have their heating and living costs included in their care arrangements. Therefore, the winter fuel payment is considered unnecessary in these cases. However, this rule has faced criticism from advocates who argue that many residents still face personal expenses and could benefit from the extra money, especially with rising care costs. Finally, the fifth group consists of individuals who need permission to enter or stay in the UK and whose visa conditions explicitly prevent them from claiming public funds. This means that even if someone meets the age requirement or other eligibility conditions, they won't receive the payment if their immigration status restricts access to benefits. The DWP clarified that this measure isn't new but is being reinforced as part of compliance checks across benefit systems to ensure that funds are distributed appropriately. For anyone who falls into one of these 5 categories, the message is clear: no more winter fuel payments until at least 2026, unless the government reviews these criteria. If you previously received payments but are now excluded, it's important not to rely on the same amount showing up in your bank account this winter. And if you do receive a payment that you are not entitled to, HM Revenue and Customs, or HMRC, will likely reclaim that money. The department has made it clear that overpayments will be tracked and recovered, and financial experts are advising people to opt out proactively if they know they no longer qualify rather than risk repayment demands later. This announcement couldn't have come at a more challenging time. With colder weather arriving earlier than usual in parts of the UK, as it did in November 2024 when snow fell before the start of meteorological winter, many households are already preparing for higher heating bills. According to BBC forecasts, early snowfall and prolonged cold spells remain possible this year as well. That means energy consumption is likely to increase across the country, especially for older residents who are more vulnerable to cold weather. For many pensioners, the winter fuel payment is not just a bonus, it's a financial lifeline. Energy bills remain a major burden for millions, and although wholesale prices have stabilized compared to the peak of the cost of living crisis, they are still much higher than they were a few years ago. For older citizens living on fixed incomes, that extra £100 to £300 can make a real difference. Sometimes it's the difference between keeping the heating on or cutting back on essentials. That's why these new exclusions have raised concern among charities and senior advocates. Many fear that restricting access could push more people into fuel poverty, where households must spend an excessive portion of their income on energy just to stay warm. Meanwhile, the DWP insists the changes are about targeting support more effectively. Officials say the aim is to direct resources toward those who need them most, particularly pensioners on low incomes or receiving means-tested benefits like pension credit. They also point out that those who remain eligible will continue to receive their payments automatically without needing to reapply. This means if you qualify based on your circumstances during the qualifying week, you'll see the money deposited directly into your bank account, usually under a reference starting with DWP/WFP. However, the government has also warned about an increase in scams related to these payments. Scammers often use fake text messages, emails, or phone calls claiming to be from the DWP or HMRC, asking for personal details or bank information to confirm eligibility. Officials have made it clear that no legitimate organization will ever contact you asking for such information. The winter fuel payment is automatic. You do not need to apply, provide card details, or share personal data for it. Anyone receiving suspicious messages should report them immediately to the National Cyber Security Center or Action Fraud. For those excluded from the scheme, all hope isn't lost. The DWP and HMRC regularly review their criteria, and with ongoing debates in Parliament about the cost of living pressures on pensioners, it's possible that future adjustments may expand eligibility again. In the meantime, experts recommend exploring other forms of assistance, such as the warm home discount, cold weather payments, or local council grants that may still offer help during the colder months. Some energy suppliers also provide hardship funds for vulnerable customers, so it's worth checking what help might be available in your area. At the end of the day, the key takeaway is preparation. The earlier you know your eligibility status, the easier it is to plan your finances. Keep an eye out for official letters from the DWP arriving in October or November, and double-check that your personal details are correct, especially your address, bank account, and benefit status. Mistakes or outdated records can delay or even prevent payments. As the UK braces for another potentially harsh winter, millions of pensioners will be relying on timely government support to make it through comfortably. Whether you're eligible or not, staying informed is your best tool. The DWP's decisions may seem strict, but they reflect the government's ongoing attempt to balance public spending with targeted support. Still, for those missing out, the next 12 months may feel even longer as they wait for the next possible review in 2026. And that wraps up today's update. The Department for Work and Pensions has set its stance: 5 groups will miss out on winter fuel payments until at least 2026, while millions of others continue to receive vital assistance this season. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to stay updated on every major change from the DWP, HMRC, and UK government benefit schemes, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and never miss a single update. Stay warm, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.